So the user, if this is the case, then the user is the grand winner with a score of user wins, and we can actually concatenate it with more strings and say the computer lost. Right? Since it's going off it's about to cross the screen. I don't want to go over it. So I'm going to go ahead and concatenate it with another string. So I'm going to hit enter here and then continue. So the computer lost with a score of. Let's go ahead and concatenate it with the computer score. So that's going to be computer wins. All right. So if the computer wins and the user wins, that's going to be our next condition. If that's the case, the same message, but let's switch things around. Same message, but this time we're switching things around and saying that the computer is a grand winner with a score of computer wins. Oops. And we are off the screen, so I'm going to go ahead and break it somewhere here. All right, so the computer wins with a score of computer wins, and then the user, let's bring this back. We don't have to concatenate it, same line. And then the user lost with a score of user wins, right? All right, also let's display another message. Okay, so if the user didn't win or the computer didn't win, okay, then that means it's a tie. It's a tie. So else, let's just go ahead and display a message. Or you can also say you can also be explicit and say else if the user wins, it's exactly equal to, which is double equals. So else if user wins equal computer wins, meaning if they're the same, then you can say it's a tie. But if the user didn't win here and the computer didn't win here, it's definitely going to be a tie. So in that case, we can just use it else without the explicit condition definition. So over here, then let's just display a message saying it's a tie. It was a tie. It was a tie. Okay. And we can actually see the value. So let's say it was a tie. Let's concatenate it. It was a tie with the computer winning. And then let's concatenate it with the number of times the computer won. Winning computer wins. And let's go ahead and concatenate it with a string, and the user concatenate it and break it on the next line so we don't exceed it. So when the user winning user wins, concatenate it with a string wins. Okay, so it was a tie with the computer winning. Computer wins, right? So let's go ahead and break it here earlier. Hold on 1 second. Let me just fix this. Alright, so it was a tie with the computer winning, computer wins, and the user winning, user wins. Alright, and then let's fix that too. The computer is the grand winner with a score of computer wins. The user lost with a score of user wins. Let's add a string and say wins. Let's quickly fix this too. The user is the grand winner with a score of user wins. Let's break it somewhere around here. Concatenate it with another string. Alright, so the user is the grand winner with a score of, let's bring this back. The user is the grand winner with a score of user wins. The computer lost with a score of computer wins. Let's concatenate it with another string, wins. And then now with these three statements, we fix the problem. You know, instead of trying to create multiple variables to keep track of that, you can certainly do that. It still works, same thing. But with that, we've simplified it and made it simple. So let's try this out and see what happens. Compile this and then run it, and let's see what it says. It says The user is the grand winner with a score of 5 wins. The computer lost with a score of 1 win or wins, right? Now that means there was a tie. So let's go ahead and actually display the tie. Okay, just so we can verify that this information is accurate. So let's add this and say let's just add a simple string and say tie. Oops, sorry, my hands were on different keys. So tie is equal to, let's concatenate it with the tie. The tie is variable. You can actually add this here. Right, so tie is equal to ties. And then let's see, there's a tie. Was a tie off. Let's close the string, concatenate it with the ties variable. The tie of ties. So let's say, so it's going to tell the number, say the number here. Then let's go ahead and concatenate with a string. So it was a tie of this with the computer winning, computer wins. Let's break this here. And we don't have to concatenate this. All right, so it was a tie of ties with the computer winning, computer wins, and the user winning, computer wins, and the user winning, user wins. All right, so let's try it again. All right, so the computer is a grand winner with a score of 6 wins. The user lost with a score of 3 wins, ties 1. That doesn't make sense. The computer, actually it's correct, it makes sense. I wasn't doing the math correctly. I thought this was 1. So I thought it was 7. All right, so it's correct. The computer is the grand winner with a score of 6. The user lost with a score of 3, so that's 9, and tie is equal to 1, and so that's correct. All right, before I test it some more, let's go ahead and do one more thing. When you're done with everything, anytime you use a G-option pane, it creates an extra thread, okay? It creates an extra thread, so you have to go ahead and actually terminate that thread. So I'm going to basically type in system.exit here, and then I'm going to, so it's going to go ahead and terminate that extra thread. I'm going to pass in 0. That this 0 is just the value I'm passing in. Later on, when I'm checking to see what value was returned, if I check to see what value was returned and that value is 0, it's normally an indication that this program ran successfully, got to this point, and was able to work, successfully. It's normally an indication that this program ran successfully. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and compile this now. We're going to terminate that extra thread. Run this, and then let's see what it says now. The computer is a grand winner with a score of 6. The user lost with a score of 3, tie 1. It's exactly the same thing. Let's see if we get something different. So let's that's because of the system.exit. Okay, so let's run this again. Okay, the user is a grand winner with a score of 6. Now it's the user. The computer lost with a score of 0. Tie was 4. Okay, so we can see this is working. And let me say, do not do this. The interactions window was terminated by a call to system.exit. The interactions window will now be restarted. All right, so that's basically what's happening. It's terminating that extra thread and restarting the whole thing, the whole interactions pane. Let's run this again. The computer is a grand winner with a score of 5 wins. The user lost with a score of 3, ties 2. We can see that the math is also correct. 5, 3, 2. That's 10 times. All right, so sorry, I kind of overcomplicated it, trying to create extra variables and all, but this works. I mean, that also works. There's nothing wrong with that. So don't worry about it. You can do it that way if it makes you feel comfortable. Same thing, okay, same thing. But with that, you'd have to create multiple if statements to check extra stuff and make sure everything is correct. But this is actually simpler. Okay, so if you have any questions, please comment down below. As always, I'll do my best to answer them. I'll do everything to answer them, as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time with the next video or program. Bye-bye.